Hello everyone, welcome to the Four Checks cast. We are your Four Checks, and we're here to give you everything going on in the history, or the current game of Universes. Missed my intros for a second there.
Yeah, history's later.
You can tell it's been 2 weeks. Thank you, Brisbane, or Void Control, for your Tier 1 sub. So let's go ahead and get started, though. So we have 3 things to talk about this week. I'm going to kind of let for the first 2, Broberg and Tim kind of lead the charge on them, because for the first one, we're going to talk about Jacksonville, and you guys were the ones who were actually there. So, for those of you who are not aware, 2 weeks ago now? No, was it last weekend or 2 weekends?
Last weekend.
Yeah. Last weekend. We just had the Jacksonville Stark Dark, was it 2K?
It was 2.5 for the standard event and 1K for the retro.
So $3,500 total on the line, 2.5 for standard, 1 for retro. Multi-day event. You guys why don't I let you guys handle the details? Do you guys remember how many players there were?
I don't.
Standard had 33.
That's yeah. It was
retro
exactly
had around 20. There were like 10-ish tables with players at them. I don't have the exact retro count.
Okay.
We may have siphoned at least 1 or 2 people for board games.
As you do.
Yeah.
So 33, like that's like OCE regional size. Like that is a pretty crazy turnout for the size of our community for a non-official event.
Yeah, 33, and a lot of pretty much like the Southeast All-Star roster was there, right? The final round guys came down from South Carolina. There were people coming from various parts of Florida. A couple of those guys were judging, right, instead of playing. And then myself, Kevin, and Jesse used our you got back a day late from Denver apology vouchers to fly down there for free. So it was a pretty easy trip for us. No PTO needed. Fly down Friday night, fly back Sunday night. Get home way too late, but that's another matter. And we pretty much just had to pay hotel and food to go down and support the event, right? Is sort of the biggest thing. See the Florida guys that we haven't seen in a while, because the last 2 events have been West Coast, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it was cool to see when I was like hearing about it, just how many high level players there were there. Like I know when fan events like this happen, there's always a lot of question of like, is it really a competitive event, or is it just like a glorified locals? And when you look at the top cut, which we'll probably get to in just a little bit, it was kind of a crazy top cut. Like it's a top cut you would expect at like 100-person regional, well, with maybe one exception. But
wait, who are we down talking here?
I don't think Jose Naruto would be seen at a
top that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
So yeah. Why don't you guys talk a little bit about kind of your time? We'll start with the standard event. What were you thinking when you brought the decks? How was the experience? Did you have fun? Just kind of.
Yeah, I'll go first because mine has a very much more conclusive ending to the story. I decided to play Mirko in part because I decided to play Mirko in part because I had a bunch of pretty cards, and I thought, hey, this is a good enough excuse. And I got sent a deck list and said, this is kind of plausible. This is doing some cool stuff. This maybe gets ready for Street Fighter metagame when we're gonna have 100 lightning kicks. Yeah. And I think that was perhaps a less than ideal choice, especially in that deck actually sort of is kind of fishy on damage output and has very back and forth situations in a lot of games.
Yeah.
And I played into a Peak and a Byaku, who both didn't exactly wall me out, but just like my deck doesn't goldfish 40 very easily. Doesn't get better at goldfishing 40 after 3 turns of a build necessarily. And lost pretty badly and dropped from the event after 2 rounds. But I am not entirely disappointed. I think I could have prepared harder, could have thought harder about what I was going to play and how I was positioning it in the metagame. And the answer said, I'll play some aggro decks and see how that goes. And it's not that hard to beat aggro decks if if they're aggro decks shaped like that one. If I'm playing a rogue aggro deck, it's got some bad matchups that are relatively common.
So before we move on to Tim's experience, would you say, because a lot of like the hype around this has also been, this is our first AOT3 really big event pre-Louisville. This is where you're going to get a lot of testing ground. If a viewer was wanting to play Mirko 2, would you go, I think that's still a viable option, but maybe needs a little bit of tweaking from what I was running? Or would you go, in this meta with so many people running around as Peak, I wouldn't advise it?
Well, so I think my matchup with Peak was like tolerable, and I
Mm-hmm.
certainly could have. I had like 2 sweeping daggers and then 3 Luna rings in the sideboard. If I had more of those and more in the main or whatever, that certainly could have helped. It wasn't unwinnable. It was just shook out against my favor.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually pretty close and interesting games. I thought on the whole. And I think if you have a Mercury deck and you're testing it locally and you really believe in it, then I think you believe in it for a reason, and your reasons are probably valid.
Sure.
It's probably a good choice for you. I think this was not necessarily the best choice for me, basically.
Sure. And
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. So everyone, even if you're like grabbing somebody else's deck, you get a lot out of even just playing it at 2 locals or something and making your touches on it, or
of course,
discovering that no, actually I kind of hate this, or like, oh no, I really want to work on this part of the deck, and that sort of thing.
right.
Yeah, actually, I remember I was in the hotel room on Friday night and kind of was gradually accepting how the deck fit together, and that like I couldn't cram in a bunch of greater goals and always cools like I wanted to, and that I was basically just trying to turn every deck into the same death deck, and I knew that every deck isn't the same deck, and that I should follow the incentives of the deck that I actually have in front of me instead of the deck I want to be playing. And I think if I had done that more seriously before leaving Rochester, maybe I would have wound up talking myself out of playing Mirko and playing something else instead. That would have been playing like 4x greater gold, like I wanted. Like I think, like in my heart of hearts, I wanted to.
Yeah, you might have ended up on some Peak universes.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Sure. So I guess though the one that had kind of the, not to insult Broberg, but more exciting weekend is
I didn't feel insulted until you said it was insulting.
Tim, you brought a character that I don't think I have heard a single person talk about in like 3 months. Why don't you talk a little about who you decided to bring?
Yeah, so I brought Not the Brave Irritable Goblin. That is the Challenger deck version of Not. This was not originally the plan. I was testing a pony for like a solid 2 weeks, trying to work on an Earth pony, trying to get it into a place where I liked it. Just didn't really fully come together. I didn't like the balance of offense and defense I was getting, which was to say mostly offense and not playing as defensively as I would have liked to. And
Sure.
didn't really like land in a place I felt comfortable with. So I rebuilt this Void Knot deck that I'd been playing locally before AOT3, and that I made a video when AOT3 came out saying like, hey, here's how I would have changed this deck. I don't know if I'm actually, and then did not ever actually play it with the changes, right? I was just like, yeah, just as a thought process, this would be a cool video to make because this is a deck I can talk about that I've played a lot locally. And so I said, all right, well, let's take the list at the other side of that video, put that together, figure out how to get Web of Blades main because we're expecting a lot of Peaks and Rodans, and ship that because, it's a deck I have reps with. I don't like going into events with decks that I've never played before. I don't do that often. I think the one time I did that with like Giro, I finished second in the Nationals, but that, it's Giro. It's, kind of a traditional model of deck. But yeah, it's a Void Knot. The, one of the benefits is you get the Death and Chaos Attune symbols on top of all the good Void main symbol cards, like, Barrier Shield and Sweeping Daggers and Violent Animus Shot and Aerial Goblin Bolt and on and on and on. And the original impetus for the deck was during the Devil Jin Nick Reagan meta. I decided I really wanted to run Barrier Shield and Dark Ward in the same deck. And I was looking at the characters that could do it and was like, oh, not, I played a Chaos Knot for a while last year. Maybe we can revisit this. Maybe we can make this work out. Had to do a lot of finagling to get damage into the deck. Playing 2x Pressured by All for one. And, at some point I baked the deck down to 60 cards to make sure I drew all my 2x uniques as much as possible because you have the Pressured by All for one. I had, in this case, the Web of Blades I was maining. You have Knot's Flask. You have Cabal's Ruins, a very good unique. And I didn't want to like 3x all of those and run up to like 70 cards or whatever, especially since cards like Inspiring Song are so bananas in that character. So tight 60, 20 attacks, lots of 2x, lots of 3x of just, I'm going to play smaller copies of these cards, but I'm going to see them more often because I'm 60 cards and Not has this card selection mechanism. And, ultimately it, I went 4-0-1 in Swiss before IDing with Jose and then playing a deck building game. And he had the tiebreaker, so he formally finished first and I formally finished second.
Yeah, and that kind. So do I guess before we lead into the top cut, did you, with what you played of Not, did you go, oh, this was a fun deck. This was a great kind of stress test of it, but I don't think it would be a deck that would be a great idea to take to Louisville? Or do you go, this actually has a real place in the meta if someone wanted to win or top Louisville?
Playing Barrier Shield and Dark Ward in the same deck is very good.
Sure, absolutely.
That deck's biggest concern is its offense. You have the +1 and stun 1 sometimes on face. Mm-hmm. And other than that, you're kind of working for it. And so we had some damage from foundations. We had some other, like the first tech speed pump foundation, like practical studies and things like that. And it has sneaky damage. Like Trigov is 7 often enough. Ice Sword is sometimes 10. We can Irwin's Final Charge out of nowhere. Knott's Flask piles 3 on something. Cabal's Ruin piles 2, 4, 8, 10 on something. And it's kind of a, like, I would say it's like a B grade hand tax offense and a B grade stage tax offense, and you just kind of hope that between the two of them, one of them's gonna get you there.
Sure.
It's not like devastating their stage with all sorts of stuns and stuff. It's not completely ripping their hand apart, but it can do both decently.
You're basically trading off upper power in one area for more versatility across multiple.
Yeah, and it has some of that like opaque poke quality to it, where if you just sort of throw out a stupid like 6 damage de facto stun 2 Ice Sword, but if they block it, you could come in with a Violent Animus shot or a Sweeping Daggers copying their best thing, or you can start setting them up for an Irwin's or something. They end up just like taking the 6 or 7 a lot, and you're just like, okay. And then we got to do a little fish. We got to pick up a card. We move on with our life. We get ready to defend.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a like, here's a pile of cards, figure out a way to win. So it's never going to feel like a crazy dominant deck, sure, just because decks like that never are. And it's just, how do you feel about going into an event with something like that where, I played my cool locals deck that I had a lot of faith in Denver, and I went 0-3 1 drop, right?
So my tongue to say, how's this deck stack
yeah,
up?
and they're very similar. They're very similar, like cheeky, I don't know, offense is kind of fringy, 7 hand size, techie void character.
Sure.
I forget if the same was Order of Void, but it's just kind of like figure it out type decks.
Right.
And this time, when I had check a 5 to win the game, I checked the 5s. The couple times that came up when I was playing Sam, I checked the 3s. And that can be the difference sometimes.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Well, let's go
I can just say, I played against this deck at locals. So I played as Ymir, and it absolutely sucked defending those random Ice Swords.
Sure.
Yeah,
like 5 speed stun 2.
Like what am I supposed to do with this stupid thing? Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm playing Rodan or something, that's defensible. I can, spend 8 of my effective speed penalty defending that, and then I still have 8 more in my stage. If I'm a normal deck, I don't have that. It sucks.
Yeah. But then for Rodan, it comes down to the card count, right? Like, okay, when I'm counting cards, like, if I defend this, can I like draw some cards? Because if they go Trigrab into Irwin's, then I'm just dead. And
in the Rodan matchup, it's like turn 4 or 5 before I'm really getting
Yeah.
Well, that's glad to hear. It's good to hear you guys felt like it was overall a very good weekend. I want to go ahead and give a brief shout out to top 8. I don't think we're going to do a full top 8 breakdown because I don't think there's too much surprising besides the one deck we've just really talked about. But I do want to give a shout out to the people who topped. So top to bottom, and this is in the order of Swiss rankings because they did all agree to split the top cut pricing. I think that was a little controversial with some people. Who cares? Everyone in the top 8 actually was down for it, and that's what matters. But from top to bottom in Swiss rankings, you had first place Jose Norono on Peak. Second place, you had Tim Keefe on Not One. Third place, you had Richard. I want to say the last name is Bloomer or Blummer. Fourth place was on Hanji 1. Fourth place was Tam Cardwell on Pony. Fifth was Paul Butler. I believe that's Butler, right? Because I just have them with the first letter. Paul Butler on Porco. Sixth was my teammate, as well as Tam, I guess, is also my teammate. I should probably acknowledge that. My teammate, Josh Moore on Pony.
It's technically my teammate now too.
Oh yeah, I guess we should mention that. Will's on my team now. Yeah,
I've been
he's
added
final
to team
round
final
now.
round.
I didn't know if we were supposed to make that official yet. Also, if Brisbane or Void Control still in chat, yes, it looks like he is. He's also on the final round team now. We're kind of trying to kidnap people. 7th is Christopher Bromley. I think that's the B.
Yeah, it's Bromley.
On Mikasa 4. And then 8th is my other teammate, Chris Miner, on Rodan. So it was the two, I think, kind of surprising ones was obviously surprising. And then to a lesser extent, there was a lot of talk if Mikasa 4 was actually like a character that could play at the big kids table. And I think Chris Blomley showed that she could, which is really cool. Every other one, there's been some variation of talk about. Pony's been in and out of conversation pretty much every like tournament since she's been competitive. Rodan's Rodan. Peak's been like the big threat. Porco's been like the RNG, try to kill you on turn 2, scary guy. And then Hanji's had a lot of talk because of the power of 9 Titans. It's a cool top 8.
Yeah, and Paul was going for a little bit more of a turn 3 style Porco.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were a couple other Porcos in the event that didn't top. I don't know if that's a real data point or not, but that's something to note about that list. And the ponies were air.
Yeah.
Which, after struggling to come up with an Earth build, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should just try another symbol. But
I've seen most people I've seen who have been experimenting with Pony have seemed to transition her more and more to air with the death of things like new training method, which were some of your big Earth.
Yeah, new training method was the big forcing function. I still wanted like battle or release. I was very concerned about like
draw
having raw damage.
Oh, damage, yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it also sucks losing any means.
Yeah. So overall, I think they are cool lists. You can check them out if you look up Stark Dark's UVS Ultra name, or if you look up Peak and you go to the decks. It's one of the top decks you'll see right now in terms of views. You can see the folder if you want to see any of the decks in detail. I think if you are preparing for Louisville, you should be taking a pretty close look at this. I don't know how many people will be playing the Mikasa or the Knots, but a lot of people who are maybe thinking about Hanji 1 are probably going to use Richard's deck as a pseudo blueprint.
At the very least, absolutely, you'll see a lot of the same. The cards in these deck lists are cards you'll see in other deck lists, right?
Yes.
Any Hanji deck will have a lot of the same attuned cards in this Hanji deck, even if they're on different broad strategies.
Yeah, or you might see the Hanji deck, but with Zeke on top, right? The broad, we don't really know what the landscape of the backup, use my stuff that scales with backup stats.
Right.
Decks are going to work. Some could be Hanji, some could be Zeke. I think there's people playing both Zekes, either Zeke, and some other things, Caticus.
Also, in terms of conversation, there's been a lot of filled with doubts conversation, and no one, I think, 4x'd it, but 6 of the lists were running it in at least 2 or 3 copies between the main and the side. So if you're not thinking about how your deck's going to handle filled with doubt, if it can play through it just fine, especially for these wombo combo decks like Falling Titans and things like that, it's definitely something you need to be aware of.
And conversely, Sweeping Dagger is also kind of all over the place in this list.
Yes.
I think Sweeping Daggers will be a card that is constantly in top cut until it either gets banned or rotated. That card just does a lot.
You would have to have a hard turn towards a trait themed lineup on the symbols that Sweeping has that get played or something like that, where Sweeping just doesn't fit because every air deck is a punch deck or something in some future. Yeah,
because you can't really traditionally power creep besides maybe raw stats Sweeping Daggers, because as attacks get better, Sweeping Daggers can just start copying those better attacks. It's a card you just will always have to be aware of until it dies. But
or mid blocks just become god awful and you just don't want any or something like that.
Good time for us to transition. Now we have a staff member in the chat. Hey, Lenoco, don't mean to call you out too much. Podcast is going well. But next big thing to talk about is Rochester has had a retro update. A pretty big retro update. Do any of you guys have every single card that's on there or know it really quickly?
I'm sure we can all pull it up.
Yeah, and we can touch on the Jacksonville retro event more than not at all. I didn't play in it. I opted to play board games instead. I corralled Kevin into it.
Yeah.
And got Mike Buck and Paul joined us at different points. But
Yeah, let's
I believe
touch...
that the top 4 of that was a Stone Man, a Fae, Jose playing Kuwabara, and
sure.
I want to say, was it Zach with the Fire Ymir was the other top 4?
Oh,
That was
that's
Yusuke.
Oh,
It was Yusuke, yeah.
It was Yusuke?
Those
Okay.
are that's a pretty cool top cut. I'm kind of surprised that like post errata Kuwabara is still
Yeah, it's
seeing
a
a lot of
Bar is
play.
still real good.
Yeah, it's a partially cool play. I was, I've been playing long enough that I was sick and tired of Stone Man and the heal myself to full every attack Fae a million
Sure.
light years ago. But
Every time I see Stone Man, I just look at this character and I go, like, it's a character that doesn't read that scary until you actually play against it and you see how that response works in practice, and then it's miserable.
Yeah, until you realize how many of your cards probably say like +1 or +2 damage,
Right.
and then also you realize that there are a lot of cards that say this attack gets +1 damage and +1 speed, which then can be used turn into defensive resources as well. Is
Yeah,
just
the
crazy.
idea that it can turn speed bonuses into damage reduction and vice versa is the really crazy thing of that character to me. But yeah, it's a cool top 4. It's not anything super unexpected besides because like Yusuke I know has seen a decent amount of competitive success. Faye has seen a decent amount of competitive success. Yes, Paul, we did mention Faye. Stone Man, I know Nick Reagan loves Stone Man.
yeah, handed it off to Jet.
Yeah.
They ran that thing and made people's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, broadly, these are the opposite pole from sort of like the way that a lot of UFS imbalanced UFS formats potentially end up going, where instead of having a lot of turn 2 kills, we have a lot of decks that kind of establish domineering control of a game and run away with it, and then win sort of sooner or later with whatever happens to come up at hand.
Do we know if they split the top 4 pricing or did they actually play it out?
I believe
they split.
it.
They split,
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool weekend all around. All right, with that in mind,
let me tell you, I've got a list of the updates. We're gonna just read these off for the cast.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so Rockstar Retro, and we do a 2-month cycle. So starting July 1st, these changes will go into effect, and the ban list is over, guys. There's no longer going to be 2 sources of truth. We have to say, well, is this card legal? Let me go check the ban list. Let me go check the suspension list. We're just going to have suspensions. We're going to update suspensions every 2 months, like I said. And yeah, everything is possibly on the table now. And starting this month, we're kind of kicking things off the bin. We're unspending, counting 10 cards.
Sure. Yep. Read them off.
I guess, I think this is more or less time sorted by release-ish. Anyway, so we're dropping the Golden Ticket, Dream of Fate Line Buddy, Summer Heat, Mature 1, Husel 1, Gemini Man 1, Punishment Time, Amphibious, Frog Lashing, and Coordinated Effort.
Which, before we get into anything specific, thank you guys so much for bringing back Coordinated Effort. I love that card to death. Coordinated Effort is one of my favorite cards from the first set of MHA.
Yeah, there's like a 2/5 asset in Retro that does this, so it's not like it's a crazy novel ability or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
There's also a lot of other ways to deal with it in Retro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have better foundation control than standard by leaps and bounds, honestly. But yeah, more 6-checks, more cool 3 diffs. Actually, a lot of these are 3 diffs or characters, more or less. A couple cards that were just kind of banned in MHA Spotlight back when that was Universes was MHA Spotlight after the MHA big rotation. And really, Frog Lashing was never in need of being banned in Retro. It was just kind of banned as the back go. And also a reminder, I guess, everything banned in Standard that hasn't been explicitly suspended in Retro, still legal. So until this week, actually, until next week, Risky Encounter has been legal despite being banned in Standard. The erratas are still in place, so that's the other side of things. But yeah, all these cards, I'm excited to see what people cook up with these and with everything else that's hanging around in the Retro format right now.
I do want to touch on, I think, the characters especially, because I think there are like a lot of the non-character cards. You know, the My Hero ones probably were due for a comeback. Coordinated Effort is pretty good. Maybe the scariest one of all of those, but none of them are like the MHA ones are scary. Amphibious, for that matter, is like, why I looked at Amphibious and went, why are we still having this banned in Retro, period.
Yeah.
The characters are a little scarier to me. I will tell you, I started looking through those lists because I don't know a lot of Retro, a lot of the history of Retro. That's kind of why we've been doing the History of Universe series, is for me to learn some of that. I read mature. This character is just City Rampage on face, but instead of 5 diffs, it's mid attacks.
Yes.
Okay, so like I know the reason why she was banned was because of the really bad or really toxic like turn 1 attempting to kill you decks that like played a crap ton of attacks.
Yeah, to tell the truth, it was really still a turn 2 deck, but it
Yes.
started attacking you on 1. It was a deck that was only attacked and always
Yeah.
drew 6
Right, it would like
attacks.
try to
Yeah,
cut you in half turn 1 and then do the other half the next turn.
And like I
Yeah.
get why that is a problem. Like being able to guarantee 3 attacks no matter what after turn 1 if you're an all attack deck seems scary. With that being said, I don't know. I don't know Retro. I don't know how powerful Retro is as well as you guys do. The idea that a character is going to be able to like on turn 2 always have City Rampage and then be able to guarantee having it again on turn 3 while still being her full 6-hander, and if she has ways to cut herself to half health, she's getting everything 3 damage. I don't know. Seems a little scary to me. Seems a little horrifying.
We have a character that's turning sideways and playing an 11 diff for free.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, that is that. I thought
I
Natalie
guess
was
this-
suspended. Wasn't Natalie
No.
suspended?
Is she? No,
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 the
no.
13
They hit the
hit
13.
we hit the flip 5 card because that was a little bit too polarized. That was a little
Yeah.
bit too much.
Sure.
And yeah, it's Natalia and Drillman who get to do that for free.
Yeah, Drillman was up at the top tables in that retro event. I think he just came a little bit short at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really cool. It's a terrifying deck. Every time I look at these cards, I go, "Oh my god, I will die if I try to step foot into Retro."
I promise it's not that bad. Just play it sometime. It's fun.
And then what were the other characters?
Yeah, like Yusuke and Kuwabar are hardly the pinnacles of screaming aggro, right?
Sure.
Those are, I mean,
Yeah.
Kuwabar's not even aggro. Kuwabar's playing the most like, never thought I'd say this. Kuwabar's playing like the most normal shaped game out of the stuff that was at the top tables there.
Yeah, I mean, Kuwabara is like Kirishima 1 on Omega Crack, right? Instead of building top card in your deck, you build your first attack.
But you can't pick it up unless you're in desperation, or you
Or
play
unless you
cards
play
that
hard
pick things
jab.
up. Yeah, but you know, he's just kind of like attacking and blocking and reversaling, and he's not trying to master Q on 2. He's not going to drag the game out till turn 1500. And that was an undefeated deck in this retro tournament, and
Sure.
Yusuke it probably looked very much like the standard Yusuke's, and
Sure.
that can blow your face off on 2. It can also play some defense. It's a pretty flexible deck.
From what it was said in chat, he was doing silly things with shotgun and technical sphere, but yeah, it's mostly fundamentals right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like it's super power creep fundamentals, but it's still just fundamentals, right?
Right.
He's playing with the Yu Yu Hakusho back page, like Spirit Gun, Spirit Shotgun, Yusuke's face, like +3 your check,
Yeah.
right? Those are very strong abilities. Those are much stronger than being in standard, but it's identifiable universes.
Right.
Yeah, and the Kens and the Natalias and the whatnot are still going to be out there trying to blow your face off, but you can generally play stuff that can defend those things, and then you have to, just like a normal UVS format, you have to worry about what's the most extreme aggro like, what's the most
Sure.
extreme control like. Can I play something that handles me on both sides of the ledger?
Can you guys? So Gemini Man makes sense, like why he was hit at one point, because like I can see a world where if you can scale this character really quickly.
That's really not the situation, honestly. That character, he was just like considered too successful.
Okay.
I don't think I never really agreed with that ban to begin
Because I
with.
just look at him like, okay, he starts off as +2/+1 and scales from there. I can see why that's a little scary theoretically.
At the time, those were good stats for a 7-hander.
Mhm.
But
I guess we have
it's
Ymir
kind of
now,
all he
right?
does.
Well, so, like, Gemini Man is very much a 7-hand size speedster archetype in kind of the same. Like, look at Rodan, right? Rodan says +3 speed to all of your attacks. That's
Sure.
a thing you can do. Then he has this other traits, other stuff. I mean, he's not blowing him face off his offense. And Gemini Man was kind of just in that same category. Like Lilith who was like the one out Lilith was 7-hand size +2 speed, and then 1 more speed for every, like, basically +1 speed, and then +1 speed for every copy of a card in your stage.
Sure.
Right. And so if you got 3 copies of Foundation now, and you were +4 speed to all of your attacks, and then you got a very different shaped offensive ability, and they were just kind of more or less peers. And Gemini Man got banned because he was much more successful because he had this defensive trait as well. So you built your very straightforward Gemini Man deck, you threw in 4 extra buddy blocks, or 3 extra buddy blocks, and you were like pretty good at defending while also having that pretty potent offense.
Yeah, and this was an era where there were a lot of 15 to 30 person PTCs, and so if you had like the same one or two people running around with their
Sure.
Gemini decks, beating up on competition in like PTCs that weren't very well traveled or whatever. And now like, oh my God, Gemini Man's won 4 events in a row. And then it gets banned, even though like in more competitive matchups and whatnot, it was just kind of like a good deck.
One that I want kind of an explanation on, because Gemini Man, that okay, I understand both that he was a little too good, and then why we're unbanning him, because relative to other characters, he's fine.
Yeah, right now it's just whatever. Yeah.
How was Huitzel ever bannably good? Like I read this character, it just seems
Huitzel paid for harnessing chaos as sins. Is my story on that?
Okay.
Partly.
And when he got banned in regular retro,
character.
Yeah. But when he got banned in regular retro, it was because he was stacking Huitzel too.
Yes.
Are we not allowed to stack multiple characters anymore? Did that change?
We are, but they banned Huitzel 2 in this new update.
Oh, I didn't catch that Huitzel 2 got banned in the new update. Okay.
Yeah, so this didn't get mentioned, but there are 4 cards going on the suspension list when these other cards come off, and those cards are Risky Encounter, Military Airship, Huitzel 2, and Gemini Man 2.
Oh,
basically just the 2 dots of those 2 characters that get unbanned to stop them from doing shenanigans, I assume.
Gemini Man 2 getting hit seems a little weird. I get the Huitzel, because turning 6 hand-size Huitzel 1 into Huitzel 2, I can understand that being a problem. I have a hard time understanding Gemini Man.
Stacking up to +8, +7 is a lot.
I guess that is.
Yeah, Gemini Man.
It's not hard.
Gemini Man Stackers is not transparently, overwhelmingly insane the way that Huitzel Stackers is, or that like Twinkle Murdoch Stackers are. Actually, was like when we did a no ban tournament, that was actually the best stack, and it was so much more deplorable than everything else.
Yeah, I remember that
margin.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gemini Man Stackers, especially because there's a lot of very good support on both Air and Evil.
Yeah, you get the Suzaku cards, right? And those are all
you get
like
the Suzy
really
cards, and so like you get Prism Storm of Torment, and like Prism Storm of Torment, if you're kitted up, can be like, we have City Rampages, like all of your attacks get +1/+1 for this turn. Prism Storm, when it pops off, can be like all of your attacks get +4/+4 for the rest of the game.
Oh yeah.
And then also like Prism Storm, if you get it as the last attack, then Gemini Man 2 dot gives it multiple, and so you get 2 copies of it at wearing all of your buffs.
Yeah, I know how scary Prison Storm can be, because my locals, Clinton Thomas, loves Taisei Prison Storm of Torment. He adores that deck.
Yeah, and I think that I know that I actually ever like circa COVID probably, I was like testing with Ose, and he was playing Nightmare into my like full power Stacker Gemini Man deck, and it was like just competitive. It was like pretty much fair.
Yeah.
So it certainly is possible that it could have been safe to bring off, but there was a lot of apprehension. There was a lot of we think this is probably too good, and it'll look goofy if they unbanned him and then had to ban him again. But that's why we have suspensions, actually, so we can run experiments. And I think we're running the kind of marginally safer experiment. We're saying, hey, how about we just bring back Gemini Man in his original shape without this sort of weird, like halfway to a most recent print errata, but they made it a 2 dot, so now there's this unintended synergy. Because these cards were never intended to play with each other, right? Like they were
of course
introduced as an apology to Huitzel stands for banning their character in Standard, and then the other one rotated, but this was still in Platinum, so this was still legal for longer or whatever. But like the history of the game was that we had Huitzel and then we had a different Huitzel, and they weren't intended to interact with each other at all.
So, I guess to kind of before we transition to Street Fighter cards, to kind of wrap this up a little bit, are there any retro cards, any of the cards coming off that you particularly want to highlight that we haven't talked about, that you think like this is a really cool card people should be brewing with?
Dream of Fae is an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, if you like at drawing attacks, if you dislike not drawing attacks, put Dream of Fae in your deck.
I don't own any of those.
What's the name of the card?
Dream of Fae Lion Buddy.
Lion Buddy. Cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if someone might try to do like a really low attack count with this guy and see if they can tutor for asses or something. That's sort of the modern way in which that card could be too good. At the time, it was just, I don't know, showing up in too many decks or something, so they banned it. I don't even remember like anything particularly oppressive about that card. Just like there's a bit of like an anti-champ card streak for a little while, and when a champ card got too good, they just slapped it.
Oh yeah. I think like you still have that today. Like, I think there is a certain, and this could be a conversation for entirely another day, about how when a champ card gets too good, even if it's comparably too good as what we would accept in like a standard set, it gets viewed as like, oh, those champs tried to slip one under the designers, get this broken card under the designer. You saw a lot of people make those jokes about Nick with Nick Reagan. And I don't know, it's always kind of interesting because I'm like, I think if this was a booster set card, you guys would be like, yeah, this character's probably too good, but you'd have way less vitriol than if this character had a champion's name on it.
Well, yeah, it also has to do with like the people who are in the game for the IPs, where they're just like, there's some guy.
Yeah.
I don't care about some guy. I want to care about my IP favorite character that did this ability. Why couldn't it be that, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
think about those like vitriolic Discord folk, and just imagine that is the owner of the 3-person company Jasco Games.
Right.
You're not wrong.
That was the attitude for a few years. Not initially. They put in a bunch of crazy champ cards, and eventually they sort of backed off of that.
And I mean, even fairly, isn't Black Bear Diner relatively in terms of assets champ cards recent? Wasn't it like 2016, 2017, or is it older than that?
I think it was like 18.
Yeah.
They won that at the event that I won with Fairman, so it would have been 2017 Worlds.
Yep. And that is a cool card. I love Black Bear Diner to death.
I love that card.
It is
so cool.
Probably too good of a card, but I absolutely love that card. I think it's so cool.
It felt too good when it was still in that standard format. It was always like on the fringe of should they ban this or not. I don't even remember if they ever did or not.
I don't think they did, but they should have. It's very,
yeah,
very strong.
It was
I don't know.
when
I
I
was
was
in
playing,
retro.
so
Yeah, I guess I think there's 2 cool shoutouts in here. Punishment Time and Summer Heat are both. I'm a little nervous about these unspent. They might be going back on here later. Let us know how it turns out. They really play with the kind of the fundamental resource traits of the game. Summer Heat is a cantrip that cantrips instantly. If you play it, you immediately draw your card. So you can you top the foundation, you can play that foundation, and get a really fat build turn. And then once it's in play, you commit it. It raises itself at the end of the turn like Nice Try, and it's just paying you back for the rest of the game as soon as whenever you can take some risks and overplay your hand.
Sure.
Just gets on tap. And then Punishment Time is just free stats and no progressive difficulty, and it gives you some confident control checks. Might be certainly a potent card for any kind of aggressive strategy or any kind of count your card pool kind of thing. It's certainly available on the all
Punishment
symbol.
Time is definitely something I am more scared of. I think Summer Heat is probably fine in the current environment. At least more fine than it used to be. Punishment Time is scary.
I was going to say
Punishment Time was
I think
banned
it's
for
cool.
some very particular turn 1 attack
Right.
lines, and so it's like, okay, well, you can't attack on turn 1 anyway, and like obviously it's still like good to use this when it's not turn 1, but when you're not like guaranteeing a 5 check on your
Right.
turn 1 going first attack,
It's a lot
it's
less
a different
I
shape.
was going to say how scary is Punishment Time actually, and then I saw it did have the Jiro all symbol, and you mentioned like
and it cares about
viewing
weapons.
stuff. It cares about weapons. I'm like, there is probably something there.
It's like a
Might
half
be-
city Rampage 4 almost.
Might be a little spicy. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
It's cool. No, all of this is cool stuff. And I do say, as much as I say it terrifies me, if you're ever at an event with Retro, don't hesitate to ask somebody, like one of the established players, because a lot of them bring extra Retro decks. If there's one talk to them, see if they're willing to let you try Retro. Most of the old players are desperate to get people to try Retro. Most of them will do just about anything to get people to try Retro.
I have avoided retro to date, and largely can intend to do so, but just because like side event, the times when retro events are happening, I'm usually in board game mode.
That's saying
I'd rather play board games than face Fae or Stoneman.
I think for me the biggest pitch, honestly, the simplest pitch for retro is that you get to play universes, and you get like more out of your 1/8 of a cent from Twitch.tv than you get in any other format. Like for $2, you can buy like a pile of game-winning cards with that retro budget, and you can do so much crazy stuff in that format. You can do so many splashy cards. That's like the peak of retro to me, is that you get to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and you do it with so many cheap cards. You can just go find them and buy them.
Hey, it would be great to pick up those cards now before UVS Games makes it like an official format again, like that gets like real pricing, and then those cards go back up in price.
We give away $1,000. It's real pricing now.
Yeah, that's real pricing.
That's true. That's true. Honestly, like I do kind of want to wrap this up by circling a little bit back to Jacksonville's Retro and Standard. It is so incredibly cool to get community events like this.
Yes.
Real money on the line, real competitive players showing up to make it happen. And it's not the only one doing this. Keep an eye out for Boar's Hat. They almost always do like a case event now for every set. Like it is cool.
Stark is planning to run another one of these in a few months.
It's first weekend of
picked it up
November
easy.
in the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
If you've got, I don't want to say anything that might upset UVS Games, but if you've got your day 2 already and you're looking like I can afford to go to one more trip, what would it be? There's a pretty good argument for like the Stark Dark events because the pricing there is really cool. It's going to be a really unique set of players. Obviously, the ideal is to go to both, but I don't think you should be writing them off just because they're community events. There's a ton of stuff there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to be choosing between the South Regional and the second Stark Dark, just PTO wise.
I may be as well.
And it would be nice if UVS Games would talk to us about what's going on with their future regionals that are coming up in like 4 or 5 months. But
Yeah,
Stark Dark is way ahead of UVS Games in terms of advanced planning.
It is definitely concerning that we haven't heard anything about the last 2 events of the year yet.
Oh. Yeah. Well, to move on to our last subject for today, we have Street Fighter cards to talk about. We're getting pretty close to the release. I think it's the day before the Louisville Regional, so that's
correct.
Yes,
like July 13th, 14th is when.
July 18th is release day.
18th is release day. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So it's going to be about 3 short weeks. So we're starting to get a lot of previews. I'm going to be pulling up some of the images as we're kind of talking about them, but I wanted to kind of ask broad strokes. Before we get into individual ones, what are you guys thinking of the non-reversal cards that we're getting? Because obviously we've talked a lot about the reversal stuff, and I don't think we need to rehash that.
I think broadly this is kind of in the same shape of like design principles that we've had for a couple sets now, and I'm a big fan of that. So like I think we see like simple commons that have reasonable numbers that seem kind of compelling and interesting and distinct from other options that are going to have a good texture to deck building around those attune symbols, and like some ultra rares, some high rarity cards that are like interesting engines, interesting build around type stuff. And so I think the big picture I think looks pretty sound to me. I'm pretty excited.
Sure.
yeah, I be a little more negative. I think these are a little conservative. Not all of them, but a lot of these are just like you could have moved one stat point here or changed the zone there or something like that, and this card would have been perfectly fine to print without having to worry about power creep. And it's sort of like cards that have familiar shapes that we've seen before are like tuned a touch conservatively, and the cards that are doing things that are kind of new and different and unique effects are a little more aggressive. Is what it feels like. Which is which is interesting. But even so, like a lot of cards, even with like conservative tuning, in terms of your actual win percentage, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Like even if, Inherited Will could do XYZ, it's still a neat and interesting effect that could be very valuable in your deck.
Absolutely. Will, what about you? What have you been thinking about?
I mean, yeah, I mostly agree with Tim there. Like, I like a lot of these cards. They have some good words on them. But there are a handful of cards where I'm like, man, this would be so much better if it was just like a slightly different zone or like one more stat or something like that. And it's not like I want to play this in my competitive deck. It's just like it's one of those, man, why is this a 4-mid-4, right? Like I'm 4-mid-4 with okay words on it. Like
Comparison is the thief of joy, guys. Come on.
Sure.
Yeah, and a lot of these things happen. It just, I guess this is dated experience, but still, like I imagine they test these challenger decks against other challenger decks.
Sure.
Right, and a lot of things happen where it's just like, man, this is just like a little too strong for these challenger format matchups, and we believe we have a real pocket of players, and I think they do, that primarily play with challenger decks and play challenger decks against each other. And so if this thing is balance to have fun games into, the Star Trek decks and the Critical Role decks and the, Godzilla is Godzilla, but like the broad scope of decks, right? The Deku deck and solo leveling and so on.
Fine.
You can see a lot of cards just like maybe originally they had that one more stat point, but they're like, we need to like take this matchup down a little bit.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I do look at a card like Luke Sweep, and I kind of go, this feels like Fajin coded, but just isn't doing near as much. Kind of what you're saying, like it feels like a lot of the lower rarity attacks are playing it very conservative. And there are some of the foundations that are like stuff we've seen before, but I like. The obvious one that comes to mind is Vagrant Traveler, the new 1-diff spam that is Fourth Wielder again. It's a little worse than Fourth Wielder, but it's on an attuned symbol. And like in some ways it's a little better because you can choose to spend a momentum instead of committing a foundation, and you get to do it after the block is made instead of before the check. So like there are some reasons you might play it over Wielder. But I look at the attacks, I am kind of going, there are like 4 attacks that are interesting, but the ones that are interesting kind of terrify me. We talked about the reversal ones yesterday, but one that I did want to highlight, we can never print a water symbol character that does a really powerful commit ability on face that you aren't willing to say that they can do this over and over again when breaking exists. Commit
Sure.
1 foundation, ready your character is a horrifying thing to print on a card.
That's sweet. I'm thrilled for our coming buoy overlords. Right? Like how much more broken can you get than buoy, right? Like +10/+10, who cares? Whatever.
Okay.
Ship it.
Yeah, but the difference is like I'm thinking not about a character like Bowie, a character who is bad, who might become viable if you can commit him multiple times. I'm thinking like a character that you're already really valuing that commit ability really powerfully. Like like an Ochako 1 coded flavored character is probably what scares me in that regard.
+5/+5 isn't moving the needle for you. Like you're not impressed.
Bowie does nothing. Bowie's a bad character already. Top Louisville Bowie, man. Top Louisville Bowie.
Money match coming, Kevin with Bowie.
I'm just saying if we're like that is a ability that you aren't supposed to do twice.
I mean, yes, you're right, but like, okay, my point.
The danger is already here.
If we're airing hate towards Justin right now, I'm gonna give him crap for Luke Sweep. I like that card. It does exactly what I wanted these cards to do when I was talking about it.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's crazy good. I'm not saying it's crazy good.
Werewolf was complaining about the target freeze drive card, the low zone Kraken. It's like, this will be the most obnoxious deck ever. It's like, bro, this card sucks.
Right.
Oh,
But,
okay.
like,
Hold on. I funny thing is, I'm flipped on those because I will defend the Kraken at home. I will not defend Luke Sweep.
Sure. You know what? You don't have to like it.
No,
I'm
name me
saying
a
it
deck
does-
you would play Luke Sweep in right now.
Hold on. Let me explain my point instead of interrupting me there. My point is that it does exactly what I wanted them to do with these cards. Like, do something cool, make them off zone. Like, this is a Fajin that's
It's
not
like-
mid. It's not crazy, but it's neat.
Do
It's
you like?
respectable?
Right.
If someone shows up to your locals with their modified Street Fighter Challenger deck, and this is one of the cards they kept in, you're not going to be like, oh, you got to take that one out.
Right.
Sure.
It's fine.
Kind of.
Like,
I guess.
it's not terrible. It's fine.
I'm sure I'm going to say this and then never put it in the deck. I kind of like this Backshaver card.
Which one's back?
The stupid 3 mid 4 throw that if they don't block it, you get to freeze something.
I think that's fine.
Fine. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, it's
intrigued.
tasty.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this like freeze 1 space where they're trying to figure out what power level you put these little freeze 1 effects on forward ifs on for them to like start seeing some play. And I think this is a nice shot at like,
Folks
let's
in
make
chat,
a
like before Tim Keefe cards were irrefutable force of nature, before they were target for seal stuff, it was Moon Tracer.
Yeah.
And wow, 4 control 2 mid 4 throw with an on
Yeah,
block trigger?
it was-
Wow.
it was 3 head crushes in Kula.
I
Yeah,
do
you are
Low
right.
block?
It was
Oh
the
man, Tim
stupid
Keefe
forward
card.
if throws. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think if you start with AOT1 and you kind of look at how the cards have been being designed, there has been a very intentional effort to see with what can we get away with freezing on cards. like you get a ton of them on order in AOT1, and they keep popping up. You got like a couple of Chaos and Water ones, I think in Order 1 too, in Critical Role and things like that. I think there's been a question of, is there ever going to be a point where you can put 20 commit and freeze cards in a deck and it's viable?
Yeah, but I mean, I appreciate the baby steps here,
Sure.
right?
Right.
They haven't gone the full push the envelope, like, all right, nobody's playing our 4/3s that freeze foundations. We're gonna make a 5/4 that freezes 2 just for existing
draws a
or anything
card.
like that. Yeah.
Where's my 1 control 6/6 on hit freeze your opponent's entire stage? Come on. Come on. Let's go.
You're talking about the first SSR card. No, I do think like I see a lot of people give a lot of crap to Kraken at Home. I forget what it's actually called. We're just going to call it Kraken at Home.
It's
Phantom-
not on Ultra,
Phantom
so I don't know
Sway.
what it's called.
I happen to have it happens to be on my monitor because I was looking at Backshaver. It's Phantom Sway.
Phantom Sway, because it's like I keep looking at it, I go, yeah, obviously, if you're in a situation where you can play Kraken, you probably play Kraken over Phantom Sway. I don't think there's a really good argument to play Phantom Sway over it.
Phantom Sway can't get Rising Uppercutted.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Genkai can't steal its real.
But that being said, I do wonder if there's a world where you're going to want to play a deck that might want to see 4 Phantom Sway and 4 Kraken. You know, a deck that is really dedicated to committing and freezing. I think that could possibly exist, and I think that is a fine thing to be experimenting towards.
Does Lock have water?
Which one?
Lock.
No, God, I wish.
All Earth Order.
I like the use of Drive 1 on Phantom Sway. Obviously, they clearly felt like they didn't want to make another Kraken and just make it free.
Which is
but,
good.
You know, on a 5-diff attack, this like, well, if I check a 5 on it, I'm probably willing to commit the foundation. If I check a 3 on it, I might not. But hey, if I have a momentum, is like an interesting decision space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I have gone back and forth. Like, I've been the guy who said it was like, wow, 4x Kraken in every deck. Kraken's the best card in standard, whatever. And also the contrarian who thinks, wow, this card Kraken is so overrated. Like, I think that it is easy to get too attached to conclusions you've jumped to, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that there's so much in this game that's contextual, and it like when the game is good, that's when things are contextual and things are complicated. And you have to keep an open mind that what you believe right now or the conclusion you've jumped to might be holding you back, might be incorrect.
Sure.
And like, is this card better than Kraken? Well, it's low zone. That's just a completely different card than a high zone attack, right? And there are circumstances where it would be so much more important that it's not high zone, that you want it to be low just for the sake of being low.
Or just want to be a kick deck. You know, you want to run you want to run the kick foundations, and you want to remove your kick cards for +2 speed. And
yeah, if we were back in a world where like there were big keyword trait decks, and at some point we may go back to that. Like, you never know.
Chun-Li wants kicks.
Yeah,
Ryu expressly does not want ranged or something like that, right? Tech or ranged?
Yeah, it's non-tech, I don't think it's non-range. It's non-tech, non-weapon.
Non-weapon. Okay, yeah.
He
can play Hadouken. Yeah.
But I do think like if keyword traits came back and there was really a kick character that wanted to play all kicks, and you can argue Chun-Li's already kind of that, but I'm talking really one that I think is going to make a big splash in competitive. I could definitely see you going, I'm not going to play Kraken, but I want something that's Kraken-like. I'm going to go play Phantom Sway. And I think that's a fine place. Phantom Sway is actually kind of where I want lower rarity cards to be. Not every card should be staple, but it's a card with enough things going for it that I can see where a world exists for that deck.
It's a rare for what it's worth, but yes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. When I say lower rarity, I really mean common to rare. Anything that's not your URs or your SRs.
Right.
I do want. Is there any foundations people want to talk about? We kind of quickly gloss over the foundations. I know there's like the spam drive refunder that exists. Is there any that really excite you?
The 1/6 put 100 kicks in your card pool is kind of tight.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think these are today's. All those foundations aside from the like ready at flip ready at the end phase are kind of interesting to me. Like obviously, 1/5 commit -2 speed is a normal rate, but they don't often get to come on 2 low blocks. A lot of those cards are like 2 mids or 3 mids or 3 highs or 3 whatevers.
Yeah. Like I know, like all the ones in AOT were pretty much like +3 mids.
Yeah, and so getting access to your just like little speed hate helper foundation that you might 2x in a deck with a +2 low block to fill out your low blocks, especially if we want to counter meta to presumably an increase in low spam decks if people are sufficiently worried about rising uppercut. Those low blocks are going to matter, and don't know
Yeah,
if
you
it'll
just-
ever like make an actual cut in the deck, but I kind of like Inherited Will. That the like once per turn free +2 speed is half of second Saintly Beast, and second Saintly Beast was insane, and getting half of it is still probably pretty good.
Sure.
Wait, I must not have read this card. What's this do?
Once per turn, remove a kick from your discard pile for 2 speed.
Ooh, that's cool.
Holy
Oh yeah, that's
shit,
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
kind of
pretty good.
redeemed rogue shape, except once per turn.
bro! That's fast hybrid chimera crack and momentum enhance.
yes.
Oh, true.
It is.
That's a very
Like that's not a bad. It's 2 practical studies, and you get to choose which attack it's on.
Yeah, that's
so.
super good.
I guess we should talk into broad strokes where we haven't seen every card yet, but we've seen the URs, we've seen I think the rare attacks, we've seen most of what we're gonna be important in this set probably. If all challenger decks were designed like this, do you think that would be the sweet spot? Do you think we should be pushing a little harder? Do you think we should be going a little more simple? Where do you think we're kind of at?
I'm still on record of I like the Star Trek Critical Role, challenger decks power levels. AOT 2 white.
Yeah.
I appreciate like AOT 3 wanting to push the envelope in some places to try to make some exciting cards and whatnot, but for me and my just wanting to play like core fundamentals UVS where we're just kind of like attacking and blocking and people aren't trying to blow up everything but 4 foundations or come up with infinite loops or whatever. This is all pretty sweet spot for me.
What about y'all?
I want to see the rest of these decks,
of course,
like every single card before making a full opinion on it.
Yeah,
but, I think this is a good spot for them to be. Like I said, I wish some of these numbers were a little bit better. I wish some of the zones were different, which is the reason why I like the sweep. But overall, I think this is a solid place for challenger decks to be. They have a handful of cards that are reasonably playable, and then they have some cards that are just decent filler cards, and that's fine. I think that's a good spot.
Yeah, for my part, I don't know. You're talking a couple with number 1 over here. Like, it's all gravy. I don't know.
Yeah. As long as the deck's not Air Nick Reagan,
I do believe
Brobo's happy.
These decks have spiritual integrity, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes. I believe we have not seen. I think there's normally some like silver bordered or like high rarity foundations, and I don't think we've seen those yet. So
we have not
that's
seen. There's usually an action asset or foundation that is.
Yeah, there's usually a non-attack UR, and we have not.
We really should see this.
Although that being said, both of these decks have 2 ultra attacks.
That's true.
So I don't remember.
Maybe they're just doing that. Yeah,
it might just be that.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, I feel like
I think most of what we're missing is foundations anyway.
Yeah.
I was looking at like the Mortal Kombat two-player starter deck and thinking about like Undying Rage and Resurrected Revenant. Like, I love those cards, so I'm excited. If there are ultra rare foundations coming, I'm excited to see what we get for those.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ultra rare foundations and actions and stuff is where we've gotten things like combined firepower and things like
Supersonic Flight, my favorite card.
Supersonic Flight. Right? All right, well, let's go and start wrapping things up. Y'all got channels to plug, as we always do.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm at Build UVS on YouTube. I'm gonna go live at some point, possibly just after the show tonight, to watch David's Real Good or Feel Good video and see how we feel about it.
Yeah. CETONIS Satonis on YouTube. I finally actually posted my summer meta poll after progressing on it for a while. I kind of want to do a series just kind of looking into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle symbols. Sure. And where are they at and what do they have? Because a lot of people haven't built decks on those symbols that aren't named Void in a while. I think Void's probably the only one that lives, and like Earth to an extent, that sees a bunch of like main symbol play. And so just want to like see where things are at with those.
That's fair.
Will, do you have a channel?
Of course not. Just our usual VOD channel.
Yep, we got the VOD channel, 4Checks Cast. It's where streams get posted whenever I'm not procrastinating or dealing with work. You know,
I'd yell at you more about that.
yeah. Hey, I had nationals last week. I had an excuse. I don't have an excuse.
Oh,
right
that's fair.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where you go to check up all of our VODs, check anything once it's kind of off here. I try to make sure when I can it gets up there. Beyond that, I was in reprints with UK Versus. If you want to check out that, I will also probably in the next couple of days be on Brody Wan's channel because it's funny that Broberg mentioned he's doing a reaction. I'm doing, because I've seen the video, an argument analysis of everything that David said. And since it does not fit the 4Checks Cast kind of premise, and if I uploaded that without uploading the other stuff, Will would actually murder me. I am going to be sending that over to Chris, and Chris is going to be uploading that because Chris will take any opportunity to stir the pot a little bit. So do keep an eye out on Brody Wan's channel. I'm sure he's going to send out announcements when that gets posted. Other than that, thank you all for tuning in. Let me see if we've got... Yeah?
I really hope that you send that to Chris, and then his video is a reaction video where he roasts you the entire time.
Okay, that would be a
He's
fun...
so funny.
I
But
got
anyway,
That'd be really funny. But all right, is there anybody we should be rating right now? You guys who are moderators.
I think Tam's chatting up with Barrett, doing
All
that
right.
thing over there.
That's an easy one. So we'll do /Roy Tam Cardwell. All right.
Yep.
Thank you all for tuning in.
Chat agrees that you have used that command.
Yeah, I finally know how to do it. All right. See y'all
All
later.
right, take care, everyone.
bye.
And now that the raid is successful, we'll hit the stop stream button.